a long English tradition, there are writers who write in English. There are writers who write in English and the mother tongue. See, both English and mother tongue. More poets, good poets, they can do both. See, but not too many. See, the bulk of Indian writing is in the Indian languages. And English is not an Indian language, even though it's official. So my core message was or is that we write our own languages. See, we write our own literatures. Our literatures from all over the world will come to know one another through translation. And translation is a kind of hospitality. You give room to somebody else's literature. See, if Korean literature is translated into English, since I have access to English, I'll be able to read Korean literature. See, this is true of all literatures of the world. We have an extra advantage in that we have English. So even though overseas literatures, foreign literatures, are not translated into our own languages, some of them are. For instance, there is quite a lot of translation from Spanish. Latin America is very popular. Latin American literature has been popular for the last 4 or 5 decades. See, Pablo Neruda, you have heard of Pablo Neruda? Pablo Neruda came to Calcutta. See, then you have heard of Octavio Paz from Mexico. He was ambassador to India. So he also stayed in Calcutta for some time and made friends, see. Apart from that, you see, Marquez, you know. So Latin American literature, you see, is fairly popular. That has been translated. You see, if you think of Indian classics, see, have you heard of the Gita? Gita. You see, Gita has been translated into almost all the languages of the world. See, Gita is very old. See, similarly, see, Buddha's life. See, is known all over. See, there is something called classical India. See, there is also Kalidasa, Shakuntala. See, a play which was praised by Goethe and which has been translated all over. See, so these are classical things. They contain some kind of, I would say, Indian message, but Indian way of life, Indian view of life, something like that. Because India is not just one view. We were a British colony and we had to learn English, but then we have been making use of English. See, and so I do write quite a bit of English, and in our higher education, largely till now, English is the medium of instruction. The more important, of course, is translation. Translation, and since English is so well established in the world now, even the French are learning English. The French were, you know, terribly opposed to English, see, but even they are learning. The Chinese have been learning English for quite some time. The Japanese have been learning English. The Koreans know English. See, so if you, that way, I would say translation. Most important is translation, and then English writing.
Okay.
Korean literature, the way Korean literature is selling itself through translation, see, is slightly they would say it's not very healthy for Korean literature because they are making compromise in order to sell, in order to get to the world market, particularly US market. See.